Hello, CC3 learners. This is your 10.1.2 lesson video. So I don't know if any of your parents were younger in the 90s, but there was a TV show that was called Zoom when I was growing up, and they would do different like science experiments and different things like that. And anyway, the reason why I'm thinking of it is because for this lesson, you'll need 2 pieces of paper, just like regular sized paper, and some tape. And in Zoom, whenever they were doing an experiment, they would be like, for this experiment, you need dun, dun, and they would like show the materials. So anyway, I just pulled some random like loan papers, because what other papers would I get in the mail besides loans? Okay, so what we're doing here is we're looking at surface area and volume of a cylinder. Okay, so it says soup cans and rolls of paper towels are example of cylinders, right? Like the bottom of this is a cylinder. This is a cylinder. The cup without the handle, that's a cylinder. Okay, so it says cylinders are like prisms in many ways. However, a prism has a polygon at its base, while as a cylinder has a circle at its base. So you'll learn to compare surface area and volume of prisms and cylinders. Okay, so the first problem, 1018, is comparing gym bags, and it's looking at, you're comparing a new product line of gym bags. The outside of the bag without the ends will be made with a rectangular piece of cloth that is 40 inches by 52 inches. The company is trying to decide whether the end pieces will be squares or circles. CPM designers want to compare the surface area and volume of each bag and consider the advantages and disadvantages of each shape. Your team will help provide data for the designer's decision. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your paper, and it tells you right here, you're going to fold the paper in half so the 8.5 inches match up. The standard paper is 8.5 by 11 inches. Okay, so it's in half like this, and then unfold. And then it says fold each 8.5 inch to the center. Okay, so you're folding them to the center. Do the best that you can. It might not be exact, but so you'll have 2 pieces that are in the middle like that. And then unfold, and then you're going to tape the edges together so it makes a prism like this. Remember that a prism is really just any 3D shape that has a base of a polygon. Okay, a little experiment here. All right. So here's my prism, and it says the ends that are open are the bases. Those are squares. All right. And then the second part says to use a new piece of paper to model a cylinder. So you roll the paper so that one 8.5 inch matches up with the other. Now this is pre-folded because it came in the mail. But you're just rolling it so that the 2 ends meet like this. So then you take those together. A little more tape here. Okay, so here's your cylinder. All right, so you're imagining these as gym bags, and you're trying to figure out which one's going to use more fabric to make and which one is going to hold more, right? So the fabric is the surface area, holding more is the volume. So it gives you the task here. Using the models for a reference, find the surface area and volume of each gym bag. So remember that the measurements are here. Your papers are a different size from the measurements. And you're trying to figure out how much fabric will it take to make the bag, how much will each bag hold. So the shorter length is 40 inches, the longer length is 52. The model you've created is not to scale. Okay, so 19 and 20 are guiding questions. If you're in your head, you're already like, oh, neighborhood dogs. If in your head you're already like, oh, I know how to calculate volume of a prism, I know how to calculate surface area and of both, then go ahead, you can skip past 19 and 20. These are guiding questions. So the way that it will help guide you is looking at the square-based prism first, and it says sketch it on your paper and use the dimensions given for the cloth. Okay, what's the perimeter of the square base? How long is each side of the square base? So if you're looking here, right, this whole side is 40, which means that this whole perimeter would be 40 plus 40. That's the perimeter of the square base, which means each side is 20. So then the surface area of the prism would be, when you do the area of the base, so 20 times 20, times the height. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. The surface area is finding area of the square times 2, and then the area of the rectangle times 1, 2, 3, 4. The volume of the prism is length times width times height. So I'm not going to give you the answers for that, but I'm giving you the guidance for that. Then you do the same thing with the cylinder. You sketch the cylinder, label all the lengths that you know, right? So if the circumference of the circle is 40 inches, then you have to figure out what would be your diameter or your radius in order to find the area of your circle. So if you're not sure, then you can look back in your lessons that we did on area of a circle, or you can Google, but basically, right, the pi is the ratio of the circumference to the diameter. So if you take the circumference and you divide it by pi, then you would find the diameter across the circle. Okay, so then remember that surface area, you're finding this whole area, adding it to the area of each end of the cylinder as well. So you find the area of the circle, add it to the other area of the circle, and then add that to the outside of the circle, which is a rectangle. And we already know the dimensions of the rectangle. And then it says to find the volume of the cylinder, and Melissa started by comparing it to a prism. To find the volume of a prism, I slice it into equal layers. I wonder if the same method will work for a cylinder. So how could a cylinder be sliced into layers? What shape would each layer be? Find the volume of the cylinder. So then 1022 asks you, once you get that information from 20 and 21, then you will figure out how much fabric is used for the square prism, this one, and how much will be used for the cylinder. Which do you think the company should use to make the bags? And then in 1023, you're finding the surface area and volume of the cylinder at the right. Show your work clearly. Okay, so there's kind of a lot to work on, but hopefully the guidance will help you through it. And if you still need help, then let me know. I will have my office, the neighbor dog, I will have my office hours and time that you can chat on Thursday and Friday. So let me know.